Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I'm going to do a updated buyer's guide on the GT500 R34 Skyline GTR. This is from the 1999 season. As you may be wondering, when this comes out of the legendary deal, it has the yellow Pennzoil livery on. Obviously I've just changed it to the Calsonic, which in my opinion is just a lot more iconic overall, especially on the R32. But yeah, I just thought I'd sort of change the livery while we do a update on the buyer's guide. Obviously, if you don't know how I do this, basically I will put the car straight back to its default settings from the straight out the dealer. I do a single lap, so basically a blind lap in the car around the Nordschleife layout, and we sort of see where it gets at the end. We do currently have a running leaderboard with, you know, all the cars I've tested so far, and we sort of like to see where it comes out in comparison to, you know, cars of the same class or just overall. I'm hoping to do one of these for every single car that comes out in GT7. Obviously that's a lot of cars, but I enjoy doing these videos. I like to sort of compare lap times and cars and just sort of see where everything's at. So for those of you that have been around for a while, you may remember that I originally did my last buyer's guide when it came to this car at the new Spa event, the 1 hour, and it did perform really well in all conditions. And one thing I did note was just how balanced overall the car was, and that opinion's not changed. For me, it's still a really well balanced car. Around the Nordschleife though, I did find it a bit twitchy at times. As you may have sort of seen at the start, the back end did sort of kick out under power. All these runs I'll do with zero traction control. I think there's only been one car so far to sort of go against that, and that was the FXXK, the Ferrari. That was an absolute monster. The acceleration on it was just ridiculous. So I did have to put a bit of traction control on for that, but yeah. Yeah, obviously zero traction control on this, just the one lap format, and it was a pretty, I'd say a decent lap. It wasn't my best lap by far, but the car did seem to sort of grip where I needed it to grip, apart from like the odd moment here and there, but it's a really good feeling car overall, and it does remain one of the, you know, more better balanced cars. In my opinion, I know it's older than, say, like I think it's the 2016 GTR, the Group 2 car that we have, but obviously same championship over the years, and it does feel a lot different to them. It doesn't have, I'd say, as high grip as those. I believe this falls into the Group 3 category, but yeah, overall it is a really, really strong car to use. So when GT7 released, I remember hundreds of people online talking about this car and wondering when it's coming. I believe there was, I think, screenshots or like trailer footage of the car being used, and I think it took around about 2 months for it to eventually appear, and I think the majority of people bought it back then, but I don't think it is currently in a dealership. It could turn up anytime, but they do sort of seem to be a bit of a pattern. Recently, some of the original legendary cars from when the game released have started appearing, mixed in with some cars that have sort of seemed to come in a lot more often than others. So I would 100% say, if you haven't already, make sure you go and get it. I believe it's about 2.1 million credits or something like that. In comparison to some of the other legendary cars we have for like 20 million that just really aren't worth it performance wise. This car is definitely not a garage queen. It's not really there just to look at. You will have massive amounts of fun just driving the car the way it should be driven, taking it into different events, and just, yeah, it's just one of them cars. I mean, it's timeless. For me, this is up there on the level of like the Alpha 155, the DTM model, of being like one of the more legendary cars in the Gran Turismo franchise, like overall, and not just in real life. I do feel like there's certain cars where, yeah, they were cool in real life, but then the fact that they've been in Gran Turismo, you know, in the series for so long, they just hit legendary status even more. And even some cars that weren't the best performing have ended up going that way. just because they've been featured throughout the years in Gran Turismo 7, and they sort of get this, you know, icon status that, although they may have not deserved it in the real motorsport world, like you know, to Gran Turismo players, they're iconic cars and they're amazing. And this is definitely one of those cars. Like, it is a really, really cool car. Obviously, it did perform well in real life in its championship. For me, it's not as iconic as like the R32s. They're definitely, you know, the more iconic, you know, tourers, or I don't know if the class is like GT cars or touring cars or what. But yeah, for me, the R32 in its race form is more iconic than the R34. But that's when I think, like, you know, movies such as The Fast and Furious or games like Gran Turismo really made the R34 what it is. There's been a generation of, you know, kids growing up, well, I say kids, you know, we're sort of adults now, where this car's been cemented as like the best thing since sliced bread. And I think the GTR will end up going the same way as well. Obviously, the one that was released after the R34. I think we will sort of see that car go the same way, where people were brought up with it, and then it'll be, you know, as iconic as the R34. But for me, like I said, personally, the R32 is much cooler. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, the R34. I mean, it's an R34 Skyline. What are you gonna do? You're gonna buy it. You know you are. Everybody's gonna buy it. I don't really need to sit here and say much about the car itself and the way it performs, apart from my opinion hasn't changed. It's still as good as it was in the first test. And yeah, you should just pick it up as soon as you possibly can. So this is the point of the video in which I go a bit quiet to let you listen to the sound of the car, and you can sort of make your own opinion on the sound. I say this every video, but some sounds in Gran Turismo were better than others. So yeah, let's take a listen. So as we come towards the end of the lap, I must say, overall throughout the lap, it was like a really well behaved car. Like I said, my opinion's not changed. It's still really well balanced. In my opinion, it sounds great. You can't really, you know, fault it in that way. I mean, 2 million odd is just nothing in this economy that we've got in Gran Turismo at the minute. For a car that's this good, there's a lot of cars that get overhyped and turn out to be terrible. Especially when the game first released and was sort of on a different sort of handling model. A lot of the cars were absolute trash. I mean, we were spending like, you know, upwards of 10 million for a car to just be the most disappointing thing. But I mean, luckily that's changed now, and this car is definitely one of the highlights of the game. If you're a fan of the Skyline at all, or just a fan of Gran Turismo over the years, you're probably going to pick it up straight away. But yeah, in my opinion, as soon as you get the chance to buy this, you just need to pick it up. No questions asked. 2 million isn't that much, and yeah, you just have tons of fun. I use this car quite often in sort of some of the single player events. I've never really used it online, so I can't really comment there, but yeah, you will get your money's worth, honestly, I can promise you that. So we're nearing the point of the video in which we look at the individual sector times. Obviously this will give you a hint of what the lap time was. And if you've watched any of these previous guides, you'll sort of maybe have an idea of where it's ranked at. Overall, as you can see, it's a 6:48, which is a pretty good lap. Currently it's the Vulcan on top. But let's see if the Skyline is going to knock it off. I'm not quite sure. Obviously the Vulcan's like 25 years newer. Well, yeah, I believe about 15-20 years newer. So let's find out. So as you can see, it's going to put it in second, about just under 2 seconds off of the Aston Martin Vulcan. That still remains sort of the king of the leaderboard currently, but second place is pretty good. As you can see, it's beat the FXXK, which is one of the most ridiculous cars made. So yeah, overall, you definitely need to buy it. It's a great car. You'll have endless amounts of fun with it. So that's going to be it for this video. If you like this kind of content, I make this kind of content each and every day. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you all in the next one. Cheers, guys.